You're listening to your Morning Fix right here on 938 Now. This is the Breakfast Club, and we are talking to Paul Ho, like we said earlier, about taking the pulse of Singapore's property market. Has the mercury reached boiling point already? Paul is the Chief Mortgage Officer at iCompareLoans.com. Paul, morning, sir. It's been a while. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning. And Paulson as well.
Well, Paul is just sitting. He wants to get his pulse taken as well. We alluded to the fact that right now everyone has got en bloc fever on their minds, and perhaps their development could be heading in that direction. Do you see this abating anytime soon?
I think it's not abating anytime soon. In fact, it is gathering pace. And there is a general feel in the marketplace that a lot of people have made money, and there have been a lot of headlines.
Mm-hmm.
So these headlines are driving people crazy to go en bloc, regardless of the state and condition of their condominium.
Mm-hmm. At one time it was the former HUDC developments, not that large, but they were privatized and they were the first to start going. And then this snowball started rolling, and now you've got huge developments trying to get on the bandwagon as well. Are there enough developers? At one time they were trying to build up their land banks. Do they still have room to do this sort of thing?
I think if you ask me if there are still enough developers out there, the answer is yes. Are there enough Singapore developers out there? Probably a lot of them have entered the market already since 2017. So those people who are entering the markets now, you see a number of developers are Singapore, Malaysia joint venture, Singapore, Hong Kong joint venture, or Singapore, China joint venture developers entering the market right now.
Right.
So there is no shortage of developers wanting to bid for land because we are open to the world.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen the trickle-down effect of these sales. Just a couple of hours ago on your Facebook page, I saw that one HDB unit in Queenstown, good location, things of that nature, went for over $1 million. Is this going to be the norm these days? Perhaps people who have had a successful en bloc sale, looking for a comparable sized apartment. Are there enough of them to go around here in Singapore?
There are enough units to go around. Only that there are this kind of $1 million HDB sale is going to become more and more frequent and more often. Having said that, these are the units that are very close to city or city fringe, or very close to where certain en bloc has happened. And when this happens, a lot of people who will be buying the en bloc could be the first time buyer buying into the $1 million property, or could be someone who sold the en bloc and buying into the HDB. Especially those people in their retirement years, they might not need so big a place, and they might and they don't have financing capability. So if they take an en bloc money of like 1.5, 2 million, or lowish 2 million, so what are they going to do with this money? So they will typically likely to buy a smaller unit or smaller condo or live with their children. If they have, for instance, stayed in a bigger unit that is 1,500, 2,000 square feet unit, or even bigger unit, they would probably end up with more than $2 million, $3 million of proceeds. Some are even more than that. Then they will be potentially looking at inter-terraces in and around the region.
669-11938 is our number if you want to get in on the conversation. Paul Ho, Chief Mortgage Officer at iCompareLoan, is here to take your questions should you have them. Now, if we were taking the pulse of the Singapore property market, how buoyant has the take-up of loans been through your organization? And judging from that, what have you deduced from it?
There is more volume now, but when you look at the en bloc market and the actual property market itself, some of the sellers are actually backing off. The transactions are a little bit more, but it's not that much more as you feel. You actually feel that there's a lot of transactions, but it's actually not that much more transaction. Whereas a lot of people who has unblocked, they will not get their money for another year or two, typically about 12 to 18 months before they will get their money. So while at the same time the market is moving, so whatever they think they have got, they may not be able to find a replacement unit. Whereas the what we have seen is actually the volume is slightly increasing, not that whole lot more, and a lot of the buyers are actually not able to buy because sellers are backing off now.
Don't want to dampen the enthusiasm, but do you have perhaps some form of advice? Because everywhere I go, every 99-year leasehold development that I have visited recently, not for any other purpose, but to see a friend, I've seen this notice that we are going for a potential en bloc sale, and it seems to be like every one of these condominiums who are not more than about 20 years old seem to want to go down that route. I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and it's not a fair question. Can every one of them succeed? Let's look at the Mandarin Garden ones, for example, since that's been in the news as a potential. Should it go that route, it will be the largest one available.
Yeah, I think I wrote something about that together with my editor. I think it potentially can go en bloc, even though it will be very, very massive. So the people that or developer that will eventually buy this condominium would have to buy it as a joint venture. And we are looking at a very, very big development that is probably more than 3,000 units essentially.
It's going to be a massive. Can you? I don't know whether you'd be able to put a knife edge, given the fact that they're going to have a return on their investment as well, if that development comes up after Mandarin Gardens, of course. 669-11938 is our number. Trying to get your calls. We've got Suresh waiting patiently. Let's take Suresh right now. Suresh, good morning, sir.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Yes, you have a question for Paul.
Yes, I just wanted to get Paul's view on what does he think about En Bloc for commercial property. I understand you have been discussing about residential properties and potential and the developer's appetite to take off the land bank. What are the views on the commercial property? Is it seem good, especially in the CBD area, or it doesn't look that?
Okay, commercial properties. Let's put that to Paul. Paul, the possibility for en bloc for commercial properties, where would there be more perhaps penchant for the developers? In the CBD, outside of the CBD, and what kind of commercial properties are we talking about?
I think commercial property, you need to look at it as a segmented basis. Commercial property in the form of, is it a cluster of shop houses that you can buy, a row of shop houses? If it's a row of shop houses, not likely, because of the road restrictions and so on, and the width of the project. If it's more squarish project, whereas it's like a commercial building near to future MRT, then it's possible. And if you look at the commercial property space right now, there is still a lot of vacancy, and a lot of units are not rented out. So it really remains to be seen how the developer will buy at what price, and to be able to price it at a reasonable premium to sell to the marketplace.
Does that answer your question, Suresh? You have a supplementary question for Paul?
It does. And maybe just a supplementary question. I think we have not seen any building in CBD area go through En Bloc yet successfully, which makes it have a variety of owners. So I think that would be a unique experience. I'm not sure what are Paul's view of going through this complexity.
Suresh, can you hang on? I need to go for an update of what's happening in the world and on the roads. We can put that question to Paul when we come back, when the Breakfast Club continues. Can you hold?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hold on for about 3 minutes. We will be back with the Chief Mortgage Officer of iCompare Loan, Paul Ho. And we are taking the pulse of the Singapore property market en bloc sales, commercial or residential, notwithstanding it. If you have a question like Suresh does, give us a call, 669-11938, or text or WhatsApp us at 96311-938.
938 now.
Like we said, covering a lot of ground this morning on the Breakfast Club, talking property this morning with Paul Ho. Paul is the Chief Mortgage Officer at iCompare Loan. Before we left, Suresh was hanging on patiently to ask a supplementary question about the possibility of en bloc sales, commercial-wise, in the CBD. Paul, do you see this happening?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a chance of them asking for en bloc. Having said that, there are a lot of en bloc attempts, say for example, in some of the commercial buildings have failed. And if there are likely to be en blocs in the CBDs, because most commercial buildings are in the CBD, by the way, you don't have a lot of commercial buildings outside of CBD. Mm-hmm. So the answer is a potential yes. But having said that, the developer will be hard pressed to price the units in the market, because there is a lot of supply of office units. And if they were to buy a commercial unit in the CBD, a lot of the demand, or a lot of the action is actually moving to grade A office units. Right? If you go to even Shenton Way or some of those units that have been completed, you can see a lot of people who bought into those units are actually now vacant.
Suresh, are you an active commercial en blocker? Could I use that term?
Yes, you are right.
And what are you looking at, perhaps? I know we all have hopes and aspirations, but have you been trying to perhaps make inroads into en blocs within the CBD and the commercial space?
That's right. I'm looking at getting the Shenton House en blocs successfully.
Okay, Shenton House. I don't know whether it's fair to ask Paul about that one.
I'm not so familiar with Shenton House. I think, in and around that area, if you're not in the Marina Bay area, where there is the bay facing, watching the the sunrise kind of units, it is probably not likely to be considered grade A, no matter how much facility you put in. And therein lies the fact that if you are having your view is being blocked by buildings in front, then is there a way for you to price it? If you're not able to price it high enough, then how much are you going to price it? Are you going to be able to make your money back for the developer?
Suresh, I hope we have addressed your questions adequately. Can we do more for you? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to 938 Now. Your morning fix, incidentally. Paul, so we've moved to the commercial space right now. Let's talk about, my goodness, I just thought I had another call coming in, but I stand corrected. Let's move to the residential space now. You just shared with me very much before the interview. There's a whole list of developments hoping to go on the. What is the average age of these developments?
Actually, I can't draw a finger on it because the list is so long. I can't even remember. I can't even remember which is which. But I have been invited to a number of condominiums to give their town hall talks, and I shall not name them.
Sure.
But a number of them have pointed out to a lot of sales committee being a little bit overbearing, aggressive, overbearing, and a lot of them seems to want to tear down proper good buildings, and in doing so, some of these people are actually blocking even basic maintenance of the lifts, of the common area, because they said, it's going to go en bloc anyway, where there's no certainty. So I feel that a lot of these people got together very early, and they have the majority, and all of the pro en blockers are in and within the committee itself. So there is probably, while it's legal, there's probably no checks and balances, and all these people are potentially emotionally compromised because they all want to sell.
Oh my. Is this? I mean, you've talked about a number that you've mixed, but we looked at the list. It is huge. And like I said, just driving down Baduk North, the main Baduk Road, and there are dozens of developments coming up, and a whole lot more hoping to be on the bandwagon. Do we have? Will there be enough take up? Should, let's say, all of these buildings or all these developments go the en bloc route?
Right now, I think if you keep on launching these units, we will definitely see a glut in 3-4 years down the road. Why not immediately? Because the en bloc will not be built, will not get through for another 1 year or two. For those that they will probably take between 18 to 24 months, even some of the units longer, slightly longer.
Right.
So when they finally get through, then the developer will probably take another 6 to 12 months to launch the plan and get it approved for sale by URA. So, that whole process will probably take 2 years to 3 years. So we start to see a lot of units coming on stream in 3 years. And by this time, there's going to be slightly less units in the market taken off the market. It's not a lot. We are looking at between 2017 and 2018, I expect maybe 6,000 to 8,000 units taken off the total supply of around 300,000 thereabouts. Yeah.
The man is a mathematical genius. It's all done in his head. 669-11938 is our number if you want to get in on this conversation. Paul, when we first started, coming to 938, we were talking about this glut of property new that we had coming on stream, and the worry was whether or not it could have been soaked up either in the private or the public sphere. With all of these developments coming back, should they go on stream, again the question would be to you, will we be facing the same problem again, that it will not be able to be soaked up?
It's hard to say. I mean, we have constrained the influx of foreign talent for a while now. So a lot of things really depends on the policy. Right? Singapore is considered a desirable place for a lot of people from the third world country. So if we open the floodgates for people in the third world country to come in, talents from the third world country and medium or junior executives, then we will see a lot of demand for the HDB. So HDB is the baseline for the rest of the property. So you can't have a very big gap between HDB and the entry-level condos and so on. So if that whole market is being propped up, then the rest will go up now. But right now we're seeing that the condo market is actually picking up first and dragging the HDB price along. Right? So if we open the floodgate, definitely.
Given the fact that, again, all of this, are developers planning to do, I mean, with your interaction with them, because I'm totally ignorant of all of this, in your interaction with developers, are they planning to, en bloc a particular development and build immediately, or are they just keeping it in their land bank?
They can't keep it for too long. They can only, if they are Singapore registered, they can only keep it for 5 years with extension. I think, if I'm not wrong, seven years before they have to pay for the qualifying certificate. So most of the developers, if they were to buy, they will start to sell as far as possible, because the market sentiment is good, notwithstanding the fact that the fundamentals are still weak. So they will sell as quickly as possible to recover the money even before the building is being built.
So for potential en blockers, who stands a better chance? The 99-year leasehold properties or the freehold properties?
I think pretty much depends on where the location is. If the location is very far, even freehold may not be that desirable. If it is in a very prime CBD district or very prime area, desired area, then 99 may be even desirable. The government has changed the rule around the top up of the 99-year lease by paying the differential premium, which means that you're always at the suspect of whether this property can be topped up or not. If it can be topped up, then suddenly this plot of land will be worth a lot of money.
The assumption for a person on the outside is, I thought that the moment an en bloc agreement is reached, you can automatically top up the lease. It is not the case?
Well, my understanding is not, because the URA doesn't tell you whether you can or cannot top up the lease until you apply for it.
Okay. And do people do this before entering into these agreements?
They would probably have an indication of that, right? But of course, there are units that didn't go en bloc. If I can recall, Arcadia, somewhere around Bukit Timah, most of the residents want to go en bloc, but the top up of the lease was not approved. So the top up of the lease is very much contingent upon the government's master plan of what they want to do in that area, whether they want to let you top up the lease.
669-11938 is our number. Time to go for an update of traffic as well as what's happening in the world. We've got another segment of the Breakfast Club coming up on your morning fix, and we'd put to Paul Ho, that is, what he would like you, the listener, to take away from the conversation, primarily as it pertains to en blocs here in Singapore. Keep it right here. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Into the final stretch of the Breakfast Club on 938 now. You're listening to your morning fix. Paul Ho, Chief Mortgage Strategist at iCompare Loan, is in the house. Paul, in the moments that we have left, let's talk about any cautionary, since you've been speaking to management committees pro and against en bloc, what advice would you have for these management committees and developments hoping to go en bloc?
I think the key thing is a lot of people are holding on to their expired home loan packages that are out of lock-in, and they are not refinancing them because for fear of being en bloc, and because they are going to locked-in packages. So while at the time the interest rates are rising, so if they're not able to go en bloc, they may end up with very expensive packages while the interest rates are rising. So my advice for them will be to go for a fixed rate that are 2 years or 3 years locked in, with the ability to have the waiver of penalty if a sale does occur.
669-11938, the number. We have someone waiting patiently. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ma'am, can I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Wendy.
Yes, you have a question for Paul.
Yeah, I just want to check with the gentleman. What is my property? Is a private, it's a private 99 landed property. What are the chances of being en bloc?
I think he's going to ask you a few questions before he can dispense advice, and of course he's not dispensing advice. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you want to go for 99 years landed, so that's a terrace or a semi-D or bungalow?
Yes, it's a terrace, a whole estate.
A whole estate of terrace, right? So then
is 20 years.
Is it strata title or you have your individual land title?
Individual land title.
Individual land title, you don't need to wait for the others to en bloc together. You can just en bloc it, rebuild.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Okay.
Thank you.
The chances of being en bloc is not very slim.
Well, if you want to gather together of the entire estate to do an en bloc for the landed estate, then when you get them together to sell together, then what's your purpose, right? Is it to make it into a bigger plot of land or smaller plot of land? Because in terraces have terraces rules. The frontage must not be less than 20 square feet and so on, and the size typically has to be around 1,600 square feet or more. So having said that, the landed property has rules around that would be around the setbacks of the peripheral of the property versus plot ratio. So if you were to gather together to en bloc, then are you trying to make it into a strata title? In which case the strata title, the land that is sitting on the strata title, does it have a high development baseline? Is it a plot ratio that is very beneficial for pulling together and rebuild?
Ma'am, you've got lots of things to consider, yes? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. You can still try and squeeze in a call should you have a question for Paul. 669-11938. Paul, we talked about the potential. So, and I interrupted you rudely. Again, if you have any advice for people planning to go down this route.
For unblock.
Yes.
Referring to those who wants to go unblock or not to go unblock.
Well, you talked about the loan quantum that some people were having first and foremost.
Yeah.
So pros and cons of both, and on both sides of the fence, I guess.
I think if you are unblocking or not unblocking, the process typically will take another 12 to 18 months, even 24 months. So during this time, don't put yourself in limbo because the interest rates are rising. So you might want to move on to, if you believe the interest rates are rising, of course, then you might want to move to fixed packages that has the waiver of penalty if due to sale.
When with the people that you have been interacting with, the management committees, has there been acrimony? This is just gossipy in the last this is the last segment of
I think yes, there has been quite a lot of acrimony. Some even reported, of course we don't know how true, some even reported cars being scratched and so on. And the Unblock Sales Committee has been very secretive and very economical with updating of the situation. So when they update the situation, it's always in a very messy manner in the EOGM. They say, okay, let's do the EOGM and let's quickly approve everything for approval. So they were trying to bulldoze, the unblock. So I think if you really want to go unblock, be upfront, share the facts and share the reasons why you came up with this reason. For those people who will not unblock any price, you can't convince them. For people who unblock for a certain price, or people who unblock seeing the right reason, you might, being reasonable and transparent and not being emotionally compromised to sell the property, you might have less acrimony in the estate.
You heard it here first. You've been listening to The Breakfast Club. Paul Ho, always a pleasure speaking with you. We haven't even touched on the interest rate issues. Promise you come back and talk to us again on that. Paul Ho is the Chief Mortgage Officer at iCompare Loan. And you've been listening to your Morning Fix on 938 Now. I'm Keith D'Souza, Daphne Lim, Paul Sung, and myself. Let's see what is in store for you tomorrow.